Good Wednesday evening. Welcome to the third installment of From the Tomb with Cadoom. I am your host, Lucas Cadoom, and let's get it started and get it twisted in my own tomb tonight. If you turned in last week, you know we are talking about the celebrity substitution conspiracy theory today. But how did it start? What if the person on stage isn't who we remember? We're going to look at Avril Lavigne, Gucci Mane, Eminem, Paul McCartney, and Kanye West. Tonight, we're not going to ask if they were cloned, but why do millions of people believe that they were? So where did the celebrity replacement myth start? Well, the biggest and probably most well-known celebrity replacements theory that is also probably the oldest celebrity replacement theory would be that of Paul McCartney dying and being replaced by Billy Shears. But we do have a few other celebrity replacements, such as Miley Cyrus, when rumors swirled amid her 2013 controversy that she was offed by Disney and replaced with a family-friendly clone. Then we have Beyonce supposedly not being seen since Destiny's Child, at least the real version, but instead, supposedly her agents knew they had a generational talent and they took her stem cells for insurance purposes. Supposedly she died in the mid-2000s and was replaced by a clone from those stem cells. Now what might they really be? Well, we take a look at German lore and we can see the theory of doppelgangers. Now, doppelgangers come from German history and are said to be a spirit double, an exact copy in a different world that's usually invisible to man. And to meet your own doppelganger means that your death is imminent, so it is a bad sign. These became a big part of horror literature, and what if, somehow, these replacements are just the doppelganger taking over for the reality version of these celebrities? But then we also have the concept that's been brewing since the Cold War of government cloning happening, and these all got intensified by cloning projects such as Dolly the sheep in 96, Cumulina the mouse in 97, Cece the cat in 2001, and Snuppy the dog in 2005. All successful cloning projects that took place that fuels even more these conspiracy theories that celebrities are being replaced somehow by it be the government, the record executives, aliens, who knows anymore. We're going to debunk this a little bit today. Not always do I support conspiracy theories. I do buy into a few, and we'll cover those at some point as well. But this is one I can't get behind. There are too many positive reasons to change in life that every person goes through. Just because these people are held in a brighter light and are more well known to people doesn't give us a reason to scrutinize them to the point we think they are cloned or replaced. So now that we know this whole cloning theory didn't start on TikTok with this new generation, it has actually been evolving since our parents and grandparents, let's get into some of these details a little bit and talk about 5 of the more famous cases of the celebrity replacement theory. First up, we've got Gucci Mane. This theory always comes in with Gucci being replaced by a government clone or a body double during his 2014-2016 prison stint. The evidence that conspiracy theorists use for this to explain what's going on are his dramatic physical transformation, which his release in 2016, he was significantly slimmer and had lost roughly 50 pounds, and his face, stomach, and limbs appeared much leaner. Now, these are things people are using to say he was cloned or body double switched. But if anybody knows anybody that's been to prison and has gotten out after a couple years, they know they come out completely shredded because working out is a good way to distract the mind while they're in confinement the whole time and losing all of their freedoms. Next, the theorists like to look at Gucci's changed demeanor and behavior. They noted him shifting from his previously troubled persona to a calmer, healthier, and more eccentric demeanor. This is also common after criminal confinement because people see what it is like to completely lose their freedom and control of their own reality. So they take life the opposite direction to an extreme degree once they're back out, so they can feel in control again and not like they have to answer to anyone. Then people noticed his tattoo changes. The famous ice cream cone face tattoo appeared less prominent. Now, some attributed this to being a clone, but in reality, all tattoos fade or get covered up or get removed, and any one of those could have happened to this tattoo. So we look at all of these changes, and most likely all of them are the results of sober living and lifestyle changes that he made after prison. Gucci himself has denied the theory and explains that he just morphed into a different person by shredding his old destructive ways and living a more clean lifestyle like eating kale and working out and being on a schedule, which are what people are saying are the reasons for him being cloned. But he also plays along by appearing next to clones in his First Day Out the Feds music video, and stating that he could neither confirm or deny the rumor in a Snapchat post one day. Now we're going to take a look at one of my personal favorite artists, Eminem. This theory states that Eminem as Marshall Mathers died around 2006 and he was replaced by a clone or an android to continue producing music for financial gain for executive people in the music industry and supposedly the Illuminati as well. Theorists often point to this supposed gap in Eminem's career, which in reality was the aftermath of his drug addiction and his grieving time for losing Proof, who was one of his best friends after Proof was killed. They say at this time, when M disappeared from the public spotlight, is when this clone started to make an appearance. The theorists claim that present-day Eminem looks different from the early 2000s version, stating a sharper jawline and other facial structure changes, as well as style and vocal changes from then till now as well. They like to point at the change from his chaotic, dark, and comedic style to a more technical, fast-paced, or somber and introspective styles are evidence of a new persona. But how many people do you know that don't go through changes throughout their life or major events throughout their life that make them change? Some of these people get famous in times where they never expected and don't know how to act with their money or how to do things the right way. So once they do take their break to settle out their own minds and behaviors, people like to take that and twist it into their own crazy theories and try to convince other people that that's what happened. The photo comparisons people usually use are usually before Eminem went to rehab and after Eminem went to rehab, which, once again, anyone that knows anybody that's been through that struggle of fighting addiction knows they go through significant weight changes, whether it be up or down, and usually it results in a change of lifestyle, change of behavior, which would explain Eminem's change in wardrobe and hairstyles and growing out his facial hair and so on and so forth. Let alone the change in his music styles being more introspective rather than attacking people and being funny. There's also the famous BBC interview glitch, which happened in 2013 with Zane Lowe, where Eminem awkwardly paused and said, "Stay out of my head." Often this is taken out of context or just used clipped out so it doesn't make sense and people think that this is his android form not acting right or his clone malfunctioning. Then people take newer songs out of context, like Tom MacDonald's song Cloned Rappers, which in 2019 this song fueled rumors directly alleging that the Illuminati using bone samples to replace well-known rappers. Then people overanalyze lyrics in newer songs such as I'm Going Through Changes, which was a collab he did with Ozzy, and they use those lyrics to suggest that he is referring to being replaced in real life when it could just be those mental replacements that he made on himself to make himself a better person. But everybody, for some reason, still wants to see the negative version of Eminem when he was drugged out and freaking out and saying things that would get him in trouble and things that were causing controversy. So let's take a look at somebody whose replacement is a little more recent, and that would be Kanye West. Now, the theorists suggest that Kanye was replaced by a lookalike or clone, this often being attributed to the Illuminati or some grand cabal in the government. This gained traction in 2023 and 2024, and it was driven by fans and commentators who pointed at physical and mental differences in the artist as replacement evidence. Now, these are things like his anti-Semitic comments or his political comments, or taking his brand to the extreme and the different public displays he had when all this was going on. These people also argue that photos from 2023 and 2024 show a different person, citing changes in his height, facial features, and missing tattoos. The claims that he had been taken started after his anti-Semitic and political rants, and supporters often cite lyrics from a 2010 era's song, Watch How They Clone Me, as a self-fulfilling prophecy or a hint at him being a clone or replaced in the future. Now, the theorists claim that the group does this, whether it be the cabal in the government or the Illuminati or the music executives, whoever it is. They claim that the group behind this does this because they didn't like how much Kanye had started revealing or calling other people out, and the theory claimed that after intense public scrutiny, West disappeared and came back a shell of himself. Now, this one I take personally because I have dealt with mental health issues since I was 10 years old when I got diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. I understand the battle with mental health, and everybody goes through it to some extent. Whether it be as severe as I did, or severe as Kanye has, or say Britney Spears, who is also one that gets involved in this replacement theory a lot, even though there's no actual truth behind this theory at all. When someone's as famous as Kanye West, everything they do gets scrutinized to an extent that none of us could ever understand. Now imagine being so famous at the young age that he was, and having to deal with that public scrutiny your whole life as you're trying to mature and become an adult, coming from nothing and getting all of this given to you after earning it for so long. And then eventually your mentality starts to crack. You realize you aren't your brand, you are yourself, and your brand is you on level 11. And I think that's all that happened with Kanye, is he needed to take a break and take the time to sort himself out and get his meds figured out and deal with the mental health issues he was having to come back and be a more professional version of himself and handle his business to the best of his possible abilities. Don't be afraid to let me know in the comments what you think. Do you believe that these people were replaced or cloned? Or do you think my more psychologically based theories are accurate? I want to interact with you guys. I want to make this a relationship between the two of us. I don't want to just talk into a microphone and hope people are listening. I want this to be a mutually beneficial thing for both of us. So now let's talk about my childhood crush, who I still can't believe I never heard this theory about, and that's Avril Lavigne. According to the theory, a lookalike was hired by Avril at the height of her fame to distract photographers who would often follow her around. At that point, Melissa Vandella, who was the lookalike that was supposedly hired, was brought in by the record label to replace Avril following her untimely death, which supposedly was a self-offing after her grandfather's death back in 2005. Most theorists take a look at the changes in her physical appearance usually saying that the restructuring of beauty spots are one of the biggest contributions to the evidence that she was replaced. They also like to look at her handwriting changes, and there are also claims that Melissa felt bad about lying that Avril was not Avril anymore, and they say that in the song Nobody's Home, it actually confirms that Avril died in her parents' empty house. And then during a recent promo photo shoot, Avril had Melissa written on her hands, and this event just fueled these rumors even more and reinvigorated the rumors after they had been dead for a long time. No pun intended. But once again, I think this is just attributed to the curse of being famous at a young age and not knowing how to deal with life as a normal human being, let alone going from the change as a teenager to an adult and trying to figure out how you're supposed to be and how you're supposed to act. But growing up in the music industry and seeing how those people acted and those people treated people, the significance and the changes you're going to go through in your own life often require you to take a break from the public eye and work out the problems you have with yourself, or even figure out what the problems you have with yourself are. So yeah, when she came back, her public persona changed because she became the new version of herself, the adult version of herself. So that's who she is now. That's just life. People change. People go through things. It changes you. If you want to tell me you've never changed throughout your life, I'll show you a fool. So now we're starting to wind down the episode, and we are going to take a look into our last case of the celebrity replacement theory. It is the big one I mentioned in the beginning, the most well-known and oldest version of the celebrity replacement theory, and that is Mr. Paul McCartney. This theory alleges that Paul died in a November 9th, 1966 car crash after an argument during a recording session for one of the Beatles albums, and tragically passed away in a car accident after the argument. Then was replaced by the band when they didn't know what to do by William Campbell or Billy Shears. Theorists claim that there are many clues hidden in album artwork and song lyrics. The band has always consistently denied the rumors, but the conspiracy gained worldwide traction when in 1969 somebody called Detroit radio station WKNB-FM, and the DJ at the time, Russ Gibb, got told this story of Paul McCartney being replaced, and it got worldwide traction and exploded from there. These people looked at things such as the Abbey Road cover with Paul not wearing shoes being association to him being a corpse, or the license plate on the car parked to the left of the same album cover reading 28IF, which is how old Paul would have been if he died in that car accident in 1966. Then they say if you play Helter Skelter backwards on vinyl, there is a hint at Paul being dead, and their other favorite thing to look at is Paul wearing black carnations in the Walrus album photo. Now, who's to say what really happened? Could they have really replaced Paul when he died in an accident? Sure. Back then, it would have been a lot easier without all the technology we have today to discern those kind of things. Why not? But why would they? Why wouldn't they want to honor their friend, their bandmate, the one who helped them make it? Why would they just replace him and move on like he never existed? I can't picture that happening. Not in those days. Maybe with a newer band, but not in those days. What do you think? Why might we actually believe this stuff? What in our brain tells us to go against our natural belief that something just changed these people and leads us to believe that these hearsay stories that hold no factual evidence at all are what we decide to believe what is going on. Why does that happen to most of people in the world? Now we get into my favorite part of conspiracy theories, and that's the psychological breakdown behind why they really spread. Now, a lot of the conspiracy theories that I actually get behind, you have logical evidence you can follow. It's not just the odd picture here and there. It's not just a certain song lyric here and there. It's years of evidence being shown to us, sometimes blatantly right in front of our faces, that it just takes seeing a bigger picture to realize the possibility of it being there. Those are the kind of conspiracy theories I can get behind. Stuff like this, I would rather find out what part of our brain, what in our brain makes us believe these so far-fetched stories. And I'm going to cover both on this podcast because I like both. I like trying to figure out how the human mind works and why, and what causes us to believe things we want to believe versus things we know we should. The first thing in this instance, anyway, happens to be pattern recognition bias. This is often termed as patternicity or apophenia, and that is the human tendency to perceive meaningful patterns, connections, or casual relationships in random, unrelated, or sparse data. Now, what that means is we try and find things where there aren't necessarily things to find. We will connect things in our mind that aren't necessarily supposed to be connected. If it makes our mind easier to comprehend these things, our mind will do it for us without us consciously thinking about it. So what is apophenia or patternicity? It's the innate drive to find the meanings in life. For example, finding shapes or faces or animals in clouds when texting pictures to your friends saying, "Do you see this like I see this?" Things like that. Or believing in lucky numbers or fortune cookies or horoscopes every day. Or even superstitions like stepping on a crack will break your mother's back, or breaking a mirror will give you 7 years of bad luck. Those are all patternicities or apophenia examples. Now, confirmation bias is the tendencies in our brain to notice and favor information that fits established patterns while ignoring contradictory data. And that's what lets us process things the way we want to see them versus how they actually are. Because we will find those patterns or connections or relations between things that could have absolutely nothing to do with each other. Take a look at people looking at songs from before rehab and after rehab and saying that those changes are examples of replacements. Again, what person who goes through major life events like that doesn't change at least a little bit? It only makes sense for their content and behaviors and styles and lifestyles and so forth. It only makes sense that this stuff changed. How are we connecting that this is some kind of advanced replacement conspiracy when it's just people going through normal life changes? Makes no sense to me at all. So this is where we look at fame operating as modern mythology. Now, how might it do this, do you ask? Well, it elevates certain celebrities to the status of contemporary deities or archetypes, fulfilling human need for storytelling and symbolic reference. For instance, when your favorite rapper goes to jail, or your favorite rapper gets shot in a gang war, or whatever example it may be, you take that personally. You feel like that affected your life somehow. It makes us feel like these people are higher than us and mean more to us, like they should be some kind of god in our life. So when it alters or changes, we more want to believe that these aren't the people who they used to be. We would rather believe that, no, they were switched out. That person is still there somewhere or died or whatever. When in reality, that person just adapted to the way their life changed or the way their mentality or whatever changed and figured out how to come out the other side of it still doing what they loved, and you want to judge them for it and act like it's some kind of conspiracy rather than normal life happening. Then these days, there's also one more thing that always contributes to the spread of anything, let alone conspiracy theories, and that is the internet. The internet amplifies the spread of conspiracy theories because it creates a digital environment where quantity of information is made more important than quality and accuracy of information. So what that means is, as long as you put enough information out there, at least some of whatever you put out there is going to get through no matter what it is. This is how the whole fake news trend started, and all these death hoaxes and so on and so forth get started because some idiot decides to put it out there on social media as a joke, and then 20 or 30 more idiots fall for it and believe it and spread it around, and it just keeps multiplying and multiplying and multiplying until it's completely viral and everybody believes it, and the people have to come out and say it doesn't happen, and then people still don't believe them because, oh well, it's the internet, anybody can say that and say it was them. Well, look at it from the other side. It's the internet. Anybody can say anything, and, well, at least a percentage of people are gonna believe it, no matter what it is. So, maybe the next time you want to jump so quick into a conspiracy theory or believing that somebody is not who they say they are, or all these other negative aspects of life that we can fall into, believing things we read on the internet or not reading into things enough to know what we're talking about. Maybe just instead of going down that rabbit hole the next time you find yourself at it, why don't you just ask yourself, are we just changing that person in our mind to freeze them in time so we remember them how we want to in the end? And that is your third episode of From the Tomb with Cadoom. I hope you had a great time listening tonight. And if you would, please go follow my personal brand Cadoomed on the following platforms. That would be Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and X. And go follow From the Tomb with Cadoom at your favorite podcast source, including Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeart Podcast, Podcast Addict, Podcast Index, Player FM, Deezer, and more. I am Lucas Cadoom Cadoo. This has been From the Tomb with Cadoom. Welcome to the Cadoomed family, and we'll see you next week, Wednesday, at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Have a good Wednesday night, keep it twisted, and escape your tomb.